Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to dig into something really cool. A blueprint for learning that's literally thousands of years old, coming from a pretty fascinating source.
So what are the perfect conditions for really getting something, for profound knowledge to be passed on? In a world where we're just bombarded with information, that question feels more important than ever, right? Well, the answer we're looking at today isn't from some new study. It's from an ancient text, and it lays out this incredibly detailed blueprint for how we can genuinely learn.
Okay, so our case study comes from a specific scene in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It's this ancient Sanskrit text. And picture this. You've got this gathering of great sages, and they're all eagerly waiting to hear from a famous speaker, a guy named Sutta Goswami. And it's how this whole interaction plays out. That's what gives us this incredible model for the perfect exchange of knowledge.
So the first thing that's super interesting is that the text doesn't just dive right into the Q&A. No, it carefully, almost meticulously sets the stage. It's showing us that before a single word is even spoken, the whole environment, both physically and mentally, has to be just right. And check this out, these details aren't just for show. The meeting is in the morning, when your mind is at its clearest. The sages, they've already done all their morning duties, so their minds are totally focused, not cluttered. And here's the kicker. They approach the speaker with what's called adarat, which means with great respect. And we're not just talking about being polite here. It's about creating a mental space that is genuinely ready and open to learn.
And you can see this respect in their actions, too. It's not just a feeling. They don't just say, hey, grab a chair. No, they offer him an elevated seat. And it's a very specific kind of seat, one that's loaded with meaning.
It's called the Vyasasana. Now, by offering him this seat, the sages are making a huge statement. They're basically saying, we don't see you as just some guy with his own opinions. We see you as a trusted link in a chain of knowledge. They believe he's going to faithfully pass on the original message without messing with it. So the seat itself, it's a symbol of that incredible responsibility.
Okay, so the scene is set, right? The vibe is all about focus and respect. But who actually gets to sit on that special seat? Who is qualified? Well, the text is super clear about this. It lays out two non-negotiable qualifications for a real teacher.
And get this, the very first thing the sages bring up is his character. Before they even talk about what he knows, they basically say, we trust your integrity. That's a powerful statement, isn't it? It implies that the quality of the information you're getting is directly tied to the quality of the person who's giving it to you.
The text actually calls the speaker a Goswami. That literally means a master of the senses. And trust me, this isn't just some fancy title. It's more like a job description. It means you have this incredible self-control, which is seen as absolutely essential if you're going to handle deep knowledge without messing it up. And the text gets really, really specific about what that mastery actually looks like.
So, according to this source, a true teacher, someone who can even dare to sit on that vyasana, has to be completely free from these four things. And the logic makes sense, right? The idea is that these activities cloud your judgment. They mess with your ability to see and speak the truth clearly, without twisting it.
But wait, it's not just about being a good person. That's not enough. The second qualification is, of course, that you've got to know your stuff, mastery of the subject. But look closer. There are two parts to this. It's not just being well-versed, having all the knowledge. It's also about having gotten that knowledge under proper guidance. And that little phrase is key. It points to how critical it is to have a reliable source.
And this slide just illustrates that perfectly. It shows you what proper guidance really means. It's this unbroken chain. So Sutta Goswami, our speaker, he didn't just, read a book. He heard the knowledge straight from his teacher, Shukadeva Goswami. And his teacher heard it straight from the original source, Vyasadeva. It's like a perfect game of telephone where the message never gets garbled and ensures it stays pure. Okay, so we've got the environment, we've got the teacher. Now, what about the student's role? Yeah, the text is really clear that this is not a one-way street. The listener isn't just supposed to be some passive bucket that you pour information into. Nope. The student's attitude is just as important, just as critical as the teacher's qualifications. And this part is so important. Questions aren't just okay, they are actively encouraged. But, and this is a big but, there's a massive difference between asking a question because you genuinely want to understand something and asking one just to challenge the speaker or, to show how smart you are. The intention behind your question, well, that's everything. This chart really breaks it down, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of it. The whole point isn't to win a debate, it's to actually understand something.
The text talks about something called submissive oral reception. Now that sounds a little intense, but it doesn't mean you just blindly accept everything. It just means having an open mind and being willing to listen, like really listen before you jump to conclusions.
And this whole dynamic is captured in these two really cool words. First, you have Shravana, which is that deep, respectful hearing we've been talking about. Then you have Kirtana, which is explaining what you've learned. The idea is so simple, but so powerful. You can't do the second part right, the Kirtana, until you've done the first part right, the Shravana. You have to really take in the knowledge before you can hope to share it accurately.
Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. When you combine all three of these things, the right environment, the qualified teacher, and the receptive student, what you get is a complete blueprint, a recipe for how profound knowledge can actually be passed on.
These three pillars are everything. They make up the whole system. And if you take away even one of them, the whole thing can just fall apart. And really think about that for a second. This isn't just some dusty old model for spiritual texts. It's a timeless blueprint that you could apply to pretty much anything. A modern classroom, a business mentorship, even just a really important conversation with someone you care about.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that real learning is so much more than just downloading facts into your brain. It's a whole process, a shared responsibility. You need the right setting to focus, you need a speaker you can trust who also knows their stuff, and you absolutely need a listener who is genuinely open to understanding. All three have to be there.
So, in our world today, which is full of constant debate and so much misinformation, what can we take away from this ancient model of respectful inquiry? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.